So now when we have configured our Spring Boot project to work with H2 in-memory database instead of MySQL database, let's try sending HTTP request to create a new user, for example, and see if we can get this data recorded now into in-memory database. So I will start up my project. Let's see if it's already started. It has started. So now I'll switch to H2 console and I will sign out and sign in one more time, and I will make sure that JDBC URL is pointed to my in-memory database. So it has to be JDBC H2 and then MEM test DB, username and password as Sergey. This is because in my application properties here I have created username and password as Sergey, and then I'm connecting. Here's my in-memory database, and if I click on users table and then run this SQL query, I should get an empty set, and this is because I have just started my application, and if there was any data in my in-memory database, that data is now cleared, so I'm starting fresh. So now let me bring up my Postman, and here's my Postman, and I have HTTP post request that will be sent to localhost port number 8888, and this is because instead of port number 8080 I have configured a different port here, 8888. Let's go back to Postman, and then we have application context, and here's our application context path, mobile app WS, and then / users is the web service endpoint, which is mapped to HTTP post request. Now this is my JSON payload, and I'm going to send this HTTP request and see if it works. And we got back a successful response. Let's switch to a body. Here's the JSON payload, which came as a response of API call to create a new user. Now let's go to a browser window, and this is our in-memory database. The first time we run the select all from users returned an empty set. Let's run it again. And now we have one record created with an email address test1@test.com. As you can see, it's all working. We got our data inserted. Let's look at the table with addresses. Let's clear this SQL and click on addresses to run the new SQL query. And we have two addresses inserted because we have it in our JSON payload here. So it's all working. Now let me restart my application and see if I have this data still in my database. So I will stop this application and then I'll start it again. Let's see at the console. It has started, and let's switch to the browser window, and now I will sign out and sign back in, and I'll click on users table and run this query. And now I have no data returned. A previous record that I have inserted is now gone. So now when you know how to use in-memory database, you can either continue using MySQL and have all your test data persisted if you need it to be persisted even when your application restarts. But if you're working on a feature and you don't really want lots of test data to be persisted in a database, and you're okay if this data is cleared every time you restart your application, then using in-memory database like H2 is a very convenient way to go.